Welcome to Canadian Justice. I'm Christine Van Gyn, and today we're discussing the story of a freelance journalist who's seeking records related to the beat he covers, UFOs. Journalist Dan Otis is a freelance reporter who does work for CTV and Vice News and covers the topic of unidentified flying objects, which is something that's had a long-standing public fascination. In recent years, news coverage of UFOs has exploded, given video footage from the United States, as well as US government congressional hearings on the topic. UFOs have become an increasingly serious topic. Now, to cover this story in Canada, Otis has obtained documents from the Canadian military, the RCMP, and NORAD. These documents are always partially redacted, but tend to provide enough information for him to do his reporting. After receiving a tip related to possible UFOs near nuclear plants in Ontario, Otis requested all records related to UFOs at or near Ontario power generation nuclear facilities between 1999 and present. After getting Otis's request, OPG went nuclear. Yes, pun intended. They flat out refused to provide him with anything, which Otis alleges is contrary to their obligations under the Freedom of Information and Privacy Protection Act. Now, we at the Canadian Constitution Foundation, which is the charity I work for, agree with Otis, and we're helping him with his fight. Here today to talk about this legal battle is Dan Otis, and we'll be later joined by CCF lawyer Josh Dehaas. Dan, thanks so much for joining us today. This is a really fascinating topic. It's something I've been fascinated with since I was a kid. Now, I know that UFOs is something that, to be honest, some people will scoff at, but it's something that really, as I tried to say in the opening, has become an increasingly serious topic with these congressional hearings in the US and increased international coverage. So what can you tell me about what exactly has changed with UFOs and reporting, and why this is an issue Canadians should really be paying attention to?
Well, anybody who's been paying attention to the stories see that there's been a lot of news about UFOs coming out of the United States. There they call it UAP, or unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Let's just stick with UFOs. But there's been revelations in US media that the Pentagon has had UFO offices to investigate anomalous sightings. And the Office of the Director of National Intelligence of the United States started releasing annual reports on the subject starting, I believe it was in 2021 of June. NASA has put out studies. NASA's put out a study. There's been multiple congressional hearings on the subject, hearing from military people, current and former. And what it's showing is that, credible observers like military personnel, pilots, police officers, etc., are reporting things that they can't easily identify. And the United States is taking it as a potential national security threat. And, NASA is looking at it as a scientific question. So all of these developments are showing that, people are seeing unusual things and that it's worthy of further investigation.
Now, you've been covering this story for a while now. What type of things has your reporting uncovered?
Sure. I've been able to uncover documents that show Canadian military officials have met with their U.S. counterparts on the subject. There was a presentation that was given to our former defense minister on the subject of UFOs. I was able to get the PowerPoint presentation for that. Another thing my reporting has revealed is that the Office of the Chief Scientific Advisor of Canada, basically the Prime Minister's top scientific advisor, their office has launched what's called the Sky Canada Project that aims to release a public report on Canadian UFO procedures as well as recommendations. And that's supposed to come out this year.
Wow. Um, just we've got about 30 seconds. Is there anything you can tell us about how common an occurrence it is in Canada to have sightings like this that are of interest?
Yeah, sure. My research shows that pilots on airlines like Air Canada, WestJet, Porter, etc. There's about a dozen or so reports like that coming every year. And then there's a degree of historical continuity. We see reports like this happening year after year after year, going back to the early 1950s in the
Wow.
Canadian records. So
Well,
people seeing unusual objects and lights and things moving in ways that they can't explain.
fascinating. Now we've got to go to commercial break, but when we come back, I want to talk about the introduction to this fight you're having with OPG. We'll be right back.